Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on the Dakota RT, and our aim today is to knock down some intake air temp. Now I am not doing anything crazy. I haven't put a shield under the intake yet. The shield's for oil splashing up, not hitting it, and transferring its heat into the manifold. I think the biggest issue is the water going through the intake. The factory thermostat's a 195. And you'll see I did a very long data log, we'll go over all that. Intake air temp will get all the way up to coolant temp. So if we have a 195 degree thermostat, the intake air temp can get up to 195. So I got a 160 degree thermostat I put in it, and we're going to see how it acts. Now while I went ahead and pulled the intake off, and I'm glad I did, because I'll show you a clip on what I found under the intake. But I put the wedge in it that I didn't put in last time. So the next time we hit the dyno, whenever I do a cold pass, if it picks up power, that's the wedge. If it loses power, that's the wedge doing it. Because when we do a cool down pass, it was about 155 degree coolant temp, and the intake air temp's about 120 whenever I do those passes, fairly back to back. So it should be fairly reliable comparing apples to apples. Now, outside temperature changes a bit, so it may vary a little. But we'll have an idea. If there's a big jump in power, the wedge did a lot. If there's a big loss, the wedge hurt it a lot. If it does nothing, then the wedge did nothing. So anyway, we'll be going over that data log, and I've already done that data log. I've already actually done the work. I've still got to swap out a push rod. But I'm going to swap out a push rod. I'm going to go data log with the 160 degree thermostat and the wedge in there, and we'll see just how different it acts just with changing the thermostat. Alright, here we've got the truck just idling outside. See, coolant temp 187 just sitting there, intake air temp sitting at 174 just idling. So we'll fast forward a bit. Get to where we're cruising. Just start driving, intake air temp starts to drop. I should be on the highway now. So as we're on the highway, intake air temp's dropping 118. Let's see how low we get. Oh, that was a. Keep in mind this is a 30-minute log, so. Looks like intake air temp drops to about a little over 120. And then I think I did a wide open throttle pass coming up right there. You can watch intake air temp drop. And then as soon as you let off, come right back. And we're just cruising again. 117 degrees. Coolant temp still 180. Say cruising, it's not that bad. Let's see what happens when I get back. I think this is when I got back to the house and just let it sit there and idle. You can see coolant temp going up, intake air temp just going up, up, up. And I let it sit there because I wanted to see where it would stop. And it never really did. Just kept climbing. So it's going to climb until it hits coolant temp, I'm pretty sure. So that's what this one did. This was a 195 thermostat in the Dakota with both electronic cooling fans on. 187. So every time if you're sitting there in traffic and you go to take off, this is what you're leaving from. But as you can see over here, once you're on the highway, it's dropping down. If you're cruising, it's 120. This was a 85 degree day. Well, found some evidence. It's definitely time to upgrade these push rods. Because that one's fine. That one's fine. That one's under load. That one's fine. That one's fine. That one's fine. That one's not fine. So I got to make sure it didn't have another kind of issue or something else. Valve train clearance was fine. So I was talking about the deflection and the push rods. That one must have been the weak link. These were just engine tech stock replacements. Now I wanted, like I said, I wanted to do before and after to see how much horsepower it's worth, but now it doesn't matter horsepower wise, it's not going to last. All these ones are fine, and all these are fine except for that one. So I'll pull the valve cover and make sure there's not something else going on. But I've been beating the hell out of it for a while. If there was a clearance issue, we would know. But kind of glad I found that, because it means there's probably more power to be had. Back to it. Here's the culprit. Now, the more I look at it, the madder I get about it. This came from Engine Tech. This one is nice and bent. You see that there. Here's a stock one I had laying around. I'm just going to put this one in for now to get by. But this one, nice and smooth. This one, it's like it's been ground down. And look where the ball gave out, where that is right there. I think that's what gave in first. But then, if I can hold this thing here. Maybe this will work. If I measure Engine Tech, it's supposed to be 8mm, 7.65, and it looks all ground up. And see if it'll zoom in. It looked like crap, and nothing hit. It hit right here after it bent. It's on the high side of the bend. Here's factory push rod, nice and smooth. 8.93, bigger, better. So thanks again, Engine Tech, for the garbage. But we'll get this in. Next week I'll get a nice set ordered, hardened. I think the length is fine. This is just stock replacement. So we'll get some hardened push rods before our next dyno, probably. Before another one just takes a shit and eats stuff in my engine. Anyway, I'm going to get this back in. See what this thing does. So now we'll open up the other one and take a look at it. Look at that, with a 160-degree thermostat. It wasn't as hot when I fired this one up. I just swapped everything in the intake and the thermostat and everything. It was just filling it with water. So 156. That's about where it stayed at. It was 160. Intake air temp. Let's see. It was climbing. 126. So I gotta start driving right here. And I should be on the highway right here. So our coolant temp staying about 160 where the thermostat is. Cruising, we're down at 104 instead of 117 to 120. So it's not as big of a jump. But this was cruising at 180, so it's only 20 degrees. With the 195, it cruised at 180 degree coolant temp. So that might be on par. But we're cruising 102 degrees, 85 degree day. So that's really only about a 17, 18 degree change. Let's see if I can find the wide open throttle pass. I did the same. I found the same spot so I could stay all the way in it. $160, 100 degrees. It should be coming up soon. There we go. 99. This was a third gear pull. So I guess all I want to just drop down to 99. Didn't get as hot as quick with the 160. Definitely staying cooler, but only by about 17 degrees. So, but better's better. Now, problem I had is when I got to the house, I was going to let it sit and see how hot it would get. Well, it doesn't really help because I don't have a fan switch in there yet. I've got the BMW dual temp fan switch, but it switches at 180
one fan kicks on at 180, the other one kicks on at 185. So regardless of the thermostat's opening point, my fans aren't on till it hits 180. But if you go to the drag strip, I'll put another switch in there so I can just turn the fans on all the time, keep the coolant temp low. Because when you're on the highway, you don't need the fans on anyway. It's only for when it starts getting hot. But you can see it just keeps climbing and climbing. Now it didn't get as hot. Just in the plateau right about 160, because this is several minutes. It's probably 10 minutes of sitting here to get that hot, where the other one was at 180 really quick, or it almost got to it. It was 190 something. So your heat soak or in traffic idling is not going to be as bad. It's not going to get as hot. But that's the difference between those two.
That's going to be it for this video. We'll see what we gain from that on the dyno. I want to make plans of changing the push rods on the dyno, because if there is deflection and we put hardened push rods, we may see a horsepower gain just from the push rods. So I don't want to mess that up. So hopefully I'll run it with these push rods as is and they don't crap out yet. I dyno it. At the dyno, I'll pull the valve covers, swap the push rods, as long as they will allow me to. It's not my shop, it's not my dyno. If they'll allow it, that's what I want to do. Now, the longer I'm there, the more it costs. So that's just part of it. So that's going to be the plan. So we can see what the coolant temp did, if it helped at all. We'll see what that wedge did. Then we'll throw push rods in and see what that's worth. That one definitely, it let go where the ball was. So there's no telling how much the push rods are deflecting. None of the rest, even under load, seemed like they were bent necessarily. But I don't have a slow-mo camera. I don't have anything to put in there to see it in action. But that's the plan. I'll get some push rods. Hopefully we can dyno it. I'll swap them out and we'll see what the push rods are worth too. I really hope that push rod was already bent last time we dynoed it, because that means that at 307 horse we were a little hurt. So we should make more. I've got another block sitting over here. I've got several engine parts laying around. I'm going to work on making the tray to put in mine and document everything as I go. But that's going to be it. We'll see what this thing does here in a couple weeks, hopefully. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.